Our program was the first long-term and comprehensive study of predators outside of protected lands. So back in the 70s and 80s, it was great to be able to go and watch animals in game reserves. They're very beautiful. I knew what cheetahs looked like. But I decided to go and brave it with the farmers and talk with them and learn about what their problems were and teach them more about the cheetah and how possibly they could live with it. So to save the cheetah means actually learning to live with the cheetah. We've taught farmers about the use of livestock guarding dogs, an old breed from Turkey that is raised up with livestock, and farmers can use this to protect their stock. Our dogs now are very famous. They're not that much used in Turkey anymore, but from Namibia they're starting to go back throughout areas where livestock is needed to be protected, throughout Europe, throughout South America, Africa, and here in the United States as well. Our education of students is very important. Our young students that are here, you're very critical, and the world is yours, and we're just trying to take care of it. We're having a really rough time with it. But I spent a lot of my time with young people worldwide. I also spent a lot of time with farmers, and I've developed a program called Future Farmers of Africa. And the farmers of Africa don't really know much about the things that we go to universities here for, to become a farmer. They're subsistence farmers, and they don't even often know the difference between a virus or a disease or a tick or a vaccination versus giving a dewormer. And from Namibia, we're now working with range countries through all of the cheetah's range and trying to train professionals in proven methods to try to help the cheetah survive in the different countries. Much of what we've done is develop a population censusing program and techniques. We've worked a lot with radio telemetry, with spore tracking, camera trapping, to learn more about how the cheetahs live. Cheetahs are found in very huge areas, and we don't get to really see them much, except if a farmer's caught them in a cage trap and calls us. But beyond that, we're trying to actually find out more about how the cheetah lives through our research. As we've found, that cheetahs have the largest home ranges of one of three animals on the earth, the elephant being the largest, and the cheetah and the wild dog being the two next largest home ranges. About 1,600 square kilometers, and this is a home range map showing some of the different home ranges of cheetahs. Each one of these little squares in the middle is about 10,000 acres, and a cheetah's covering about 20 farms that size. And so if you look at the kind of conservation program that we're looking at, it's trying to look at large-scale conservation that will provide economic values and allowing cheetahs to live on farmers' lands. So the scope of what we're talking about is quite large. In ecology, we've learned a lot from the radio telemetry on how the cheetahs select habitat. And this is quite important because from much of our TV we watch, we see that cheetahs love to run in open areas, and that's because people can see them and videotape them in the Serengeti. But we've actually found that cheetahs are found in more thickened areas, in bushed areas. But cheetahs do like to actually see what they're hunting and have open areas where they can possibly find higher densities of prey. And we've found that cheetahs really prefer in these large home ranges to see areas that have greater visibility and more of a grass cover. But a lot of the areas where cheetahs are found is in thick bush. So a lot of what we've learned is that habitat and prey on these farmland ecosystems are really critical to cheetah's survival. But Namibia is quite interesting. It's an arid country. We don't get very much rain. But in the last 100 years, there's been a lot of overgrazing from cattle farmers. And from this, and we see overgrazing worldwide, we've had a huge vegetation change over this 100 years. And this is called bush encroachment. So we've gone from a savanna habitat like this to such thickened thorn bush, thorns that are about this size that you can hardly even penetrate and get throughout about half of our country. And this is all the cheetah rangeland. So this last area where the cheetah is found is into an area called bush encroachment, which is a form of desertification. The impacts of this, we've seen a decrease of the land productivity of about 26 million hectares. It's really affected our social economy by about $100 million US annually, by loss of land, loss of productivity. And we've seen cheetahs actually go blind. We've found a difference in our biodiversity of the kinds of lands that the antelope will be on, as well as the birds and the reptiles. And as I said, the cheetahs have been hunting through this thick bush, and we found many of them going blinded in the eye from scratching their eyes in this thick bush. And from that, those animals then go catch livestock and become livestock catching animals. So somehow I ended up in this bush encroachment circle and thought that we could probably do something with it. We started modeling our habitat, the suitability, to look at what could we possibly restore the habitat. And by looking at a home range of a cheetah, this is some of the areas where they spend most of their time, in this brown area in the middle, and we started looking at that. And many of it was an area that was high use, which was a visible area, versus a very thickened area that the cheetahs wouldn't go into. And started also looking at this whole dynamics of how the landscape had changed from good rains and droughts and overgrazing in the farmers. And put together a model that started looking at habitat restoration. And we wondered if we could actually restore this 26 million hectares of land, and if we could we bring some of the habitat back to this grassland habitat that was there 30, 40 years ago? And if we could, possibly, could we put people to work in doing this, and would there be benefits of doing it? And economically, could we actually pay for this habitat restoration? So we started a bush project, and it is a 100% Forest Stewardship Council certified program. And I want to stress the importance of certification programs and how important consumers can be to help save many of our different species. We developed a harvesting process, and then we developed an extruded bush log. So our thorn bushes that have all those thorns go through an extrusion process and come out at the other end with a fuel log. And our fuel log, we've amply called it bush block, with a cheetah picture on it, and we asked people worldwide to help us reestablish habitat. We did win actually the Intel Environmental Award 2 years ago, which was a huge honor as well for Namibia. Some of the interesting parts of this, as we look at selective harvesting, we're now looking at the potential of using our biomass for possibly even biomass electricity. And we could potentially be making cheetah power throughout not only Namibia but into southern Africa, because southern Africa is running out of power, and it could potentially create a major change in how we're looking at some of our electricity. Our Future Farmers of Africa training program is also very important. Again, teaching farmers how not to overgraze, how to properly care for their livestock, to reduce numbers, and if you are not having as much livestock loss, then you're making more money, and you don't have to be killing predators. But as our human populations do continue to rise, we're going to have more and more land that's going to be agriculture land, and we have to learn how to deal with this and look at these human-livestock conflict mitigations. And I think Namibia has been quite a model for that work.